All right, so working still on the 2004 F150 FX4, getting all the trim and lower body frames painted black. Going to be working on the front bumper section today because I've got the bull bar, the black bull bar to go in the front. So this piece here is going to be metal, but I'm going to be using the same black bumper and trim paint that I used for the plastic. It says it's good for metal, so that's what I'm going to use. I want this to be color matched as much as possible. I'm going to get this washed off as best I can. There's a plastic black, or the plastic trim piece on the bottom there. That will be done at the same time. But I'm gonna get a bucket with the Dawn detergent, get this washed off real good. Then I'll hit it with the glass cleaner, and then I'm gonna scuff it really good. Have a couple spots right here where it's a little dinged up. So I'll get that down. I'm not worried about it looking like perfect. You know, I'm not trying to make a show truck here. It's gonna be, I want it to look nice, but it's gonna be, I'm gonna use this thing too, not just park it in the driveway and wash it every Saturday. So I'll do a little bit of sanding on that, probably 600 grit. I can see one spot right here that I'm gonna have to get in. That's actually down to bare metal, so I'll need to hit that a little deeper and then get some primer on it. Actually, now that I'm looking a little bit more, I've got some other sections I'm gonna have to do. So this is gonna a little more work, not a lot. Again, not trying to make it perfect. Let's do some washing. Just this Dawn Platinum, nothing special there. Using the little blue nylon scrubby here. And what you just really want to do is get the grime off. Good clean surface for the paint, primer to adhere to. I'm gonna just do a little bit up here in the yellow area where my tape will be getting masked off. I want to make sure it's going to stay. Get the hose. I understand there's a million different ways that you can do what I'm doing. I'm not showing the best way how to do this. I'm just showing us the way I'm doing it. Let that drip dry and I'll get a towel on it. There's two little tabs. You can flex that down just a little bit, and then you just lift the tabs up and rotate it down. I'll wash this. All right, we're gonna call that good. I've got 800 grit. I can't find my 400. I'd like to hit these rust spots with like maybe a 300 or something in there, but I can't find it for whatever reason. But I'm gonna use my soft block, the 800. I don't have to do a lot of heavy duty sanding, so I'm just gonna hit those spots as best I can. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit these spots that have some rust on them with a little bit of sandpaper. Like I said, I wish I had some heavier grit sandpaper. You can see where all the rocks and things have hit on here, but just gonna clean it up, get as much of that rust out of there as I can, all the rust out. All right, so I'm not gonna shoot all this on video. I think you get the gist of what I'm doing here. And then once I get all these rust spots kind of knocked down and smooth out, then I will go over this. And I want to hit all of this with, just to kind of take the shine off that paint and have a slightly rough surface. I'll probably use the same 800 grit sandpaper and scuff that up so that when I hit this, I'm going to hit this with primer just because I have spots that they're down to bare metal. Do a dusting of primer on there, and then we'll paint it, and that'll be it. So I did end up finding some Scotch pad, which I will use in those spots. That 800 grit isn't cutting it, and this Scotch pad I can get down in those little nooks without taking a ton of paint off. I actually might use this Scotch pan as my rougher all the way around. I'm kind of going back over with that 800 grit, and again I'm just scuffing up the paint, the glossy shiny stuff everywhere it's at. I used the soft side of my block. Now I'm just going to go back without the block so I can get in the nooks and crannies, down in these places here around the edges of all that. And once I do that, that's when I'll wipe it down with glass cleaner and then start taping off. I wish maybe that I had had a little bit grittier sandpaper, like a 600 would have been probably better. All we're going to do right at this point is just going to capture the lip area with the wide tape. Now we'll go back over, close that gap. Now let's get fog lights done. I'll show the one. It's the primer I'm using. Don't go park any car next to this wherever you're doing the work. If you happen to be doing it like me in the driveway, if you got a car or anything else where you don't want paint to travel to, because it will travel. All right, let's put our heavier coat on here. Not much heavier. This Dupli color trim and bumper paint black is what I'm using. And so let me just describe what I'm going to do before the phone dies. I'm going to do a tack coat, just a real spritzy kind of, not spritzy, but on a very, very, very light coat to begin with. And I'll let that sit for just a couple minutes, and I'll come back with another coat. And my aim is for probably 3 to 4 coats. I don't want to go too heavy, but I do want to make sure I get good coverage. So let me go ahead and do that first coat. With this can, it's starting to spritz a little bit. All right, I'll try to get a little bit of this on in between the wind. I can tell you this is different, spraying it this way than non-prime surface, like my other trim that was already black. So you can definitely tell you're probably going to need a little more paint. All right, we're going to give that a good 10 minutes, and then we'll just kind of continue until we get a good matte, or not matte, this really isn't gloss or semi-gloss. It might be considered semi-gloss for the trim side, but yeah, we'll get that till we get a nice even coverage across the whole thing. I just put on the third coat. I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna put one more coat on because I know there's some tiny little areas, like in some little nooks, like where the fog lights are, and some places like that didn't get as much as, you know, like the front part did. So I'm gonna hit those up with one more coat. I need to let this, I just put this on, it's probably been 5 minutes. I'm gonna give it another 15 or so. It's in pretty good sun, not overly hot. I think it's probably 75 out. Definitely a slight breeze, which is helping with the paint curing, drying, but I want to give it a good 15-20 minutes to dry before I put the final coat on. I am not putting any clear coat on there. I'm going to leave it just as it is. I really don't want any extra shine on the paint. I want that to be just about as solid matte as I can get, because it'll have a really nice contrast off that glossy blazing yellow, and that's what I'm looking for. Not shine on shine, but I want both to pop in their own way. If you have any questions on how I did the front bumper here, especially because I was painting two different surfaces. I was doing a metal surface, the aluminum, actually it's not aluminum because it was actually rusting. So there's some kind of an iron base to that front bumper section there. But there's underneath, you know, on the underside, there is the plastic trim piece that goes under there. But if you've got any questions and like any more details on what I didn't capture in the video, drop those down in below. I like to try and get at every question I can as time permits. If you have any comments, please keep them constructive. We're all in this together in a way, and I'm learning as I'm doing this as well. And I will provide feedback along the way. If I don't, pop me a question, say, hey, where are things at? I promise you I will get back to, and as much as I can, follow up on any open points that might be going on here. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something like I did. I used probably, it'll be about 1.5 cans that I will have applied to that, and about maybe 3/4 of a can of primer that I used. Those were all Dupli color paint is what I used. Thumbs up if you liked what you've seen here. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. It means a lot to me. Thanks for watching the video. Have a good day.